Welcome everybody to Get Healthy and Stay Balanced. We are well into December, and as I was mentioning to Daniel a few moments ago, I'm sparkly this morning because this is the season that you can wear your bling without being questioned. So I kind of like bling in my life, and it's fun, it rejuvenates you. For me, it just puts me in a happy place. So I've got my sparkly sweater on. So if you have any of yours, and I see, Marie, you've got a nice, very festive background behind you. So lovely. Let's embrace this time of year and take out the glitz. And even though we're much smaller in numbers in our households, doesn't mean we can't still celebrate and take out all those fancy dishes and things and celebrate your Christmas in a special way. Today, we're going to be talking about stress and rest and how much more important is it to talk about that in a time that we are in now. So we've lived with a lot of extra stress on top of our normal personal stress with COVID happening now for a 9-month mark. So maybe you've had some good coping techniques, but today we're going to talk about a few more, and hopefully you'll walk away feeling less stressed. But first of all, we want to talk a little bit about the definition of it, because stress affects almost every person, every age in our culture today. And we want to sure that we can avoid it, but we can't always avoid it. So how can we be more productive dealing with stress? Let's define it. So according to Webster's New College Dictionary, it says that stress is a physical, chemical, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension and may be a factor in disease causation. So that's my portion of it. Really want to be concerned and address the stress issues, because it does affect our health, not only our mental health, but our physical health, because they are definitely tied together, the mind and the body connection. Good stress involves healthy internal responses to the pressures and tensions. And I find that if you have a purpose in life and you're settled in who you are, then when some stresses come to you, you can look at it as an opportunity for growth. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we can choose how we respond to stress. In contrast, bad stress, which is day in, day out stress, the ones that wear your body out through negative internal responses, such as anger, and it triggers the body's stress responses, and they have very adverse effects on our body. So we have to know how we can maybe navigate that better. And I'm just going to give you an example off the top of my head. When you're driving, and most of us are still driving, even though traffic, at one point in March, it was hardly any traffic. So that was a little stress-free driving. Now we're back to stressful driving. And we always, there's always going to be bad drivers. So that's just a part of life. And we're always going to be in some sort of a rush. But we have to navigate that. So when people are driving and they're driving slow or they're driving crazy, you can choose how you want to respond to that type of stress. You can get angry and curse and call that person name. Hopefully you don't, do some bad signaling to them, because we don't want to create road rage. But even in yourself, you can feel yourself get angry and your heart rate starts to increase. Your blood pressure goes up. You chose that emotion. You do have the power to choose, or you could recognize it, acknowledge it, and then just try to forgive them, understand. Sometimes I think, well, that person may be rushing for a hospital. That person might be in a crisis. I don't know what's happened to them this morning, but maybe there's a reason for that. Or maybe they are just being careless and they just are exhibiting bad behavior. I still have to let that go. I still have to choose to, usually I pray a blessing over them and I say, God be with them so that they're safe, and that they're safe who they're driving, who they're going to encounter next. And because I've chosen to view it that way, it doesn't do what it used to do. Get my heart rate up, get me upset, get me to say bad things. Because I've created awareness that this affects my health. You may think, oh, that's a little thing. But studies have shown it's not the big trauma that happens in your life that causes the most damage. It's the day in and day out stress that you live with. The little triggers that keep happening throughout the day. Those are the ones that do the most damage to our health. So road rage, choose to let it go. Have a different way of responding. Conflict in your home, find a way to be calm and respond differently. You do have the choice. And if you start to think about that a little bit more, you'll be empowered to change your response to stress. At any time, if you want to add something, add another stressful situation to troubleshoot, please raise your hand or put a note in the chat. So many physicians today are treating illnesses, and there's such a high percentage of them being related to stress-related illnesses. They do exhibit disease and symptoms in our body, but if you look at where that root came from, so much of it comes from stress. Okay, let's talk about stressful situations that you may be experiencing in your life. Is there a death in your family, or has there been one? A job loss, very probable. Financial burdens, yes, very probable. Severe illness or health challenges, yes. Going back to school or going back to work. Problems with children or grandchildren. Deadlines at work. Increased responsibilities at work. Moving. And the big one, the big C, COVID. So do we have stress? Can we all acknowledge? Absolutely. You have stress. Someone had said that the top 3 stress-producing situations are, and we've all heard this, the death of a spouse or a loved one, a divorce, and I think moving's in there too, which I actually had 2 of those last year. I had the death of my father last Christmas and moved at relatively in the short period of time as well. So there were stresses there. But I must say, because of my techniques and how I view stress, I did handle those situations a lot differently than I would have maybe 5 years ago. I'm like very differently. So, and you can tell, because you can tell how it's affecting your body. And a good measurement of that is you feel your heart pulsing, you feel that anxiety, that restlessness, where you can't get your mind to stop, you can't sleep. These are all symptoms of stress. The body's response to bad stress. The whole body's under a strain. Energy gets depleted. So when you feel totally exhausted, it could be related to stress. Stress is actually taking the nutrients from your body. So it's absorbing your nutrients. So all the more important that you feed your body healthy, that you give health back to the living cells, because those nutrients are being sucked out by the stress. Your hormonal balance, which are the chemical messengers in your body, they get upset. And these chemical messengers circulate in the blood to other body cells. So that's how that whole system starts the process of disease. So what happens when your hormonal balance is upset? Your emotions are upset, your brain, your body temperature, your muscles, and your energy level. So all of those things get affected by your hormones, and your hormones get affected by stress. Stress and this is the little portion that I was just speaking about. Stress not only comes from what we do, but how we react to the external world. So we often respond with a flight or fight response. Take, for example, I'm going to read this little paragraph to you. Someone dozes off at the wheel of a car and then suddenly wakes up and they're on the wrong side of the road, facing oncoming traffic. So real high stress, like emergency situation. They quickly turn the wheel to correct the situation, and they overcorrect. So they flip the car, they get into the ditch. When the car finally settles up right side up, they are able to push the car door that's so bent that it normally would take a crowbar to move it. So all of a sudden, their body get so strong, and we've heard stories like this, and maybe you have a personal one, where this supernatural strength comes from you and you can open up a car door that normally you wouldn't be able to. So those muscles in your body, they contract, and they provide you with a hard coat of protection. Your metabolism speeds up. It gives you more energy. Your breathing increases to give you more oxygen to function. And your digestive system actually shuts down so that you divert the blood to where you need it, to the large muscles to react in that situation. So I find that fascinating, and we've heard stories of similar situations like that, of how our body is so equipped to deal with a very unusual, stressful situation and actually help us to get out of it. So if you think about how the body can work in such a way that's so powerful to protect you for that moment, think about how the body is affected when you're putting the negative stress in and day out. You're constantly angry, you're constantly upset, you're constantly aggravated because of the lineups in the bank, or people are, as I said, cutting you off in traffic, or you come home and your house is messy, and these little stresses just keep piling up. It really takes a lot of wear and tear on your mental health and then eventually your physical health. When improper responses to the stresses occur, so when you're having those reactions, it actually causes the eliminative organs. And we talked about that last week. Your cleansing organs, which were your lungs, we talked about that. And we talked about, obviously, your kidneys, your bowels, your skin. It causes those eliminative organs to hold on to toxicity and metabolic waste. So this actually accelerates illness. So this is the process of how it happens. So these chemicals are released in our body, and they cause our bodies to hold in, because we want to always be in this state of cleansing and detoxing. That's why we eat foods that are more alkaline based and things that feed our cells, high in nutrition and vitamins and minerals that repair cellular damage, because stress is the ones that causes the toxicity to go back into the system. So we can drink fresh juices, vegetables, to get those nutrients back into our body. And living foods raises the alkalinity in your body. So if you're looking at, you want to diet more in whole foods, because whole foods bring you into the alkaline state. Processed foods, all the nutrients are taken from them. And plus there's a lot of chemicals and preservatives and high sodium in those foods, and they actually don't provide you of any nutritional value. That's why you can eat the big hamburger and fries and still not feel energy from it. Actually, you probably feel like you need to have a nap. So it's really not giving your body the nutrients, the energy that it needs. Living foods help soothe your nerves. It calms your body down. It loosens the constrictions of bodily tissues. Green-leafed vegetables help calm the body. It soothes the nerves by raising the alkalinity of the body. And this decreases the stress that your body's experiencing. And I have heard in my training from Hallelujah Diet, where I studied to become a health minister, that cancer can't live in an alkaline body. It has to live in a very acidic environment to grow. So we need to start thinking about prevention. We need to say, well, how do I get more alkaline? We need to eat alkaline foods. So those are your raw vegetables, juicing vegetables, getting those nutrients into your system, and less processed foods. How do we manage stress? So let's look at some practical ways of doing this. In a previous episode or a session, I talked about deep breathing. So deep breathing does a couple of things. It helps your lungs to detoxify. It helps your heart rate to go down. It allows oxygen to go further into your lungs, therefore into your tissues, to aid you in dealing with stress and in the detoxifying process that I just mentioned. So the brain uses a third of the oxygen that you breathe. So 1/3 of the oxygen that you breathe, your brain needs that. So the short, shallow breathing keeps your body very tight and rigid. So if you're breathing from the clavicle area, which is just the upper part, and you're kind of breathing like that, and you're short of breath, it's very restricting. You need to breathe nice and deep, allowing the air to come into the lower region of your lungs and letting your shoulders and this upper clavicle area relax and actually take in the breath. And if you're not used to that, you have to practice it, because we do that instinctively when we're babies, but then when we grow up, we get blocked. We get blocked because of stress and pressures, bad posture, and not taking the time to think about the breath. We're not relaxed. You know, kids are naturally full of joy. They're rebounding. We talked about that last week. They're getting that lymphatic system circulated, and they're breathing deep. But then we become older and we become more self-conscious of ourselves, and we get distracted by the world around us. We start comparing ourselves to other people, and we start to turn inward, and therefore our breathing gets affected. So let's talk a minute about going through the breathing exercise. I'd like to do that again today, because we could all use a nice deep breath to just calm us. And the exercise is quite simple. We want to put one hand across the rib cage so that you're thinking about taking the breath into the lower regions of the lungs. And by that hand being placed on your ribs, you have a point of contact to focus on. And then you just want to sit up nice and straight. You don't want to be slouched over. And then you want to take your breath in through your mouth, because you can get the breath in more effectively and efficiently. And you want to allow it to just go in nice and low. And we're going to take the breath in for a count of 4. And then we're going to hold for a count of 2. And then we're going to expire the air for a count of 6. We want the expiration to be longer than the inhalation, because that's what's going to actually slow down your heart rate and calm your nervous system. So let's take our breath in for 4. Hold for 2, and then release. Hold for 2, take the air in. Hold for 2, exhale. Okay, that's the technique. Practice it. Be mindful about it. A good thing to do before you eat is to breathe that way, because it helps your body prepare for digestion. You need to be relaxed and not stressed when you eat, because if you are stressed and you eat, you're releasing chemicals into your bloodstream, and it affects your digestive organs. They can't digest the food properly because they don't have the blood flow they need to digest. They are in the stress mode with chemicals like cortisol in your body. So you need to, and that's why it's really important, if you have a stressful situation at home, settle it before you sit down with your family to eat. You cannot eat with anger. It's very harmful to your body. You're not going to get the nutrients, and all you're going to do is build up more toxicity. So we do encounter conflict. That's a part of life, but we need to resolve that before we eat. You can't eat. And that's why when you get upset, you feel that your stomach, a lot of people get an upset stomach when they're stressed or worried, because those organs are so affected by stress. Okay, what's another way of managing stress? Laughter. We need to laugh. And I heard, and I haven't attended one, but I heard years ago that there was a laughing yoga class, which I thought might be kind of weird, because I guess you end up laughing, but I think the concept is good, is that you're doing stretching and you're doing body exercises, but you're engaging the laughter part. And laughter is medicine to your body. If you, and some of us have a dry sense of humor, some of us don't really have a good sense of humor, but everybody knows how to laugh. So whatever makes you laugh, and even if you have to put on the Three Stooges or old videos or things that, are going to start to make you laugh, do that. Don't, you have to think of that as part of self-care. That's really important, that you allow yourself to find ways to laugh. And we've all experienced when you have that really good belly laugh, you just feel like so much stress has been released. What happens with me personally is when I get tired at night and I've stayed up too late, I start to get really silly and I start to laugh. And I can't stop laughing. It's a crazy thing, but we know when mom's overtired because she's laughing and she's saying silly things. And no one's laughing. It's only me that finds it funny. And that even feeds it more. And I laugh even more and more. And it's like, Mom, what's wrong with you? And I just can't stop. So, but to me, I let that happen because it's so healing for my body. I feel so released when I allow myself to be childlike. But I laugh other times of the day too, not only at night when I'm overtired. I really have tried in the last little while to, because I've realized the importance of this, I allow myself to have more fun. I'm a serious person. I'm a perfectionist. I'm hard on myself, and therefore I'm hard on others too. I have high standards, but I've allowed myself to laugh, and that's an important part to balance out that seriousness side of me, is to have that fun side as well. So that's just a personal note for you. Stretching. Stretching strengthens your muscles. It tones your muscles. It increases flexibility. It relaxes the large muscle groups in our legs and our back. It relieves mental stress. It makes joints loose and supple. Slow, gentle stretching releases or relieves stress in the body and in the mind. It improves your mental focus and your clarity. So a big part for me personally is yoga. I really have, I think it's been 4 years now that I started doing yoga, and I did it for stress maintenance and also because I like to be physical. And I must say, I really have resonated with it. It's really affected my mental health, and it's brought me to a much better place of calm, because when my body is stretching and I'm releasing and I'm opening up my body, increasing flexibility, combined with good breathing techniques, it's like you are detoxing from the tip of your toes to the top of your head. Yoga may not be for you. You may say, I'm not flexible. That's fine. Find just ways to stretch. And really important in the morning before you get out of bed is that you just don't jump out, but you lay in bed and you take your hands over your head and you just stretch. Just stretch everything and strengthen your legs, point your toes, flex your feet. Then you can just roll your wrists a bit and roll your ankles and just move your head from side to side. Then when you get out of bed, you'll feel more opened. You won't feel as stiff. So don't wait till you get out of bed to stretch. Stretch in your bed before you put your foot on the ground. A little funny stories coming to mind. My dad would always do this little thing. He'd kind of want to show off. When he was over, he'd bend down and touch his toes. And he was quite elderly and he could still do it. He goes, look at me, look what I can do. And he'd just bend right over and touch his toes. And then he'd say to my husband, can you do that? And my husband's going, no, I'm not flexible. I can't even go past my knees. And he'd laugh and laugh. So, keeping that flexibility and working on your own flexibility is an important thing for all of us. You don't have to touch your toes, but you got to kind of sometimes reach in that direction, because when your body stays flexible, you can do more things. Obviously, you can enjoy life. Your quality of life is increased. And it's never too late to start, but you start with small steps. Don't just jump out and think, well, I'm going to go and try to do the splits or something, right? It's just little steps every day, just stretching. A good exercise for your neck is just to take the weight of your hand and just tilt your head over like this and kind of look down. My head is bent to my right, so I'm just looking down to my right toe, and I'm really stretching out my neck muscles here. We get a lot of tension in here, and I just hold it. And just the weight of my hand is enough to get a good stretch. And then, of course, you want to balance. You don't want to just do one side, and then I do the other. So there's no jarring movement. I'm just stretching out that muscle. And just start doing a little bit of that. That's it. That's it for today. And then tomorrow, remember to do that again. Just little stretches like that. Hands out like this and just stretching your shoulders. We all know I'm sure you've got stretches. But it's funny how we just forget to do these things. We just got on our merry way and we rush around and we forget. Take a few minutes and do this. Maybe before you eat, stretch out a little bit. Do your deep breathing. Calm your system. Let's move on to rest. Before I do that, is there any questions or comments? I'm giving you lots of information today. Anybody want to add to that or ask a question? Don't be shy. Okay, we'll move on. Rest. So rest is necessary to feel better, look better, and renew energy. You're no hero by saying, I can survive in 3 hours sleep. It's not healthy for you. You need to rest. Concentration is improved with proper rest. It's not a luxury and it's not a time waster. So it's right up there with self-care. Rest is important. Sleep is not a waste. So there's rest and there's sleep. So sleep is rest, but rest can also be outside of sleep. You can take a moment in your day where you can lay down and you can close your eyes and you can think about your breath. Place your hand on your abdomen. You'll feel your tummy rise and fall. And just, if you think you're going to doze off, set your timer on your phone for 10 minutes and just lay there and just try to clear your mind. That 10 minutes, it's resting. And your body just puts on pause. And it's so replenishing for your energy. So you will be more productive. You will have more mental clarity after you do that. Because 10 minutes is only 10 minutes. But that 10 minutes will give you so much more energy to carry on with and just to calm your system. We need to take those pauses just to kind of clear our head. It's kind of like going for a walk. Same idea. When you sleep, your body gets rid of waste products. The body circulates the minerals, the vitamins, the hormones. The body produces most of your infection-fighting substances that help you recover from illnesses when you sleep. And I'm going to say that again. So your body produces most of the substances that it needs to fight inflammation when you're asleep. That's how important sleep is. The body also produces the natural human growth hormone. It maintains and repairs your muscles. So lack of sleep increases all types of illnesses. And a study that was done said that just one bad night of sleep deprivation can reduce the activity of immune cells. So it affects your immune cells so much just from losing one night of sleep that it makes you more susceptible to colds, infections, and disease. So that shows you how powerful sleep is. And we think about, viruses, and we're dealing with COVID, and we're not thinking enough about prevention. So we need to focus on building up our systems. I'm just going to read this. Sugar, I'm not able to deal with it on my own. Yeah, so sugar is a tough one. They actually showed that the sugar molecule, the structure of it, when I studied, again, as a health minister, they compared it to heroin, and they said it's as addictive as that. So the structure of that it's really tough. So the battle is real. We're going to acknowledge that. Being addicted to sugar is real. And it's not going to be, it took you a while to get there. And so on the healing side of things, it's not going to happen overnight. But what my whole series about getting healthy and staying balanced is that you're taking one step. You're taking one step each day to improve. And you don't ever want to feel deprived. You want to say, I just got to stop doing that. I just got to stop eating. No, you got to say, okay, I have a choice. I can have A or B. I can choose. Just like we can choose how we respond to stressful situations, we can look at food and say, this one gives me life. This one takes my life. In a sense, it's going to deprive me of what I need so I can function healthier. This one's going to give me health. So when you're addicted to maybe having that candy bar or that bowl of candies, say, I can get the same sugar or the same energy that I think I'm getting from the candy bars, but I'm going to have an apple. I'm going to go eat that apple. And I'm going to pair it with something like some sort of fat. So maybe I'll put some almond butter on it, or cashew butter or peanut butter, because when you have the fat with the carbohydrate in the apple, it slows down the spike of the sugar, because there is sugar in apple, is natural sugar, and it slows it down so that you don't get such a spike in your blood sugar. So that fat causes it to just be more steady in your system. So when you are having carbs, you want to have a fat with it. That's why you're putting the olive oil on your pastas that are things like that, so that the absorption in your body is more balanced. You want to be careful not to have things like juice, because juice is the juice of the fruit without the fiber. And that is very hard on your system. It spikes your glucose level rapidly. So the fiber slows down that absorption. So one thing to cut out is juice. So maybe this, thinking about you're addicted to sugar, just cut out drinking juice. Have the orange instead. Have the apple instead. But don't drink the juice on its own. Okay, so one step at a time, and just living mindful. And then don't beat yourself up, because we're going to all fail. We're all going to give in. It's 80-20. If you're trying to be healthy 80% of the time, the other 20% you're going to give in to those temptations, especially with Christmas coming. But just every day be mindful, and remember, every day is a new beginning. Just because you messed up yesterday doesn't mean it's game over. Just because you've been living unhealthy for so many years doesn't mean it's not time to start. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. So don't look in the past. We can't focus on the past. If we focus on the past, we're not living in the present. And if we're focusing in the present, we're not living in the present. In the future, we're not living in the present. And do you know that stress is related to where your mind is living? Where are you dwelling? If most of your thoughts are from the past or the future, you're living in anxiety, because anxiety is only found in those two areas. It's really not found in the present. In this present moment right now, and you're just with me right now, there's not that anxiety. That stress comes from your thoughts, from the past, or what's going to happen. So it's training, being aware of where your mind goes. Where your mind goes, your body will follow. And we'll talk more about mindfulness later, but hopefully that helps to encourage you that a lot of us are addicted to sugar. I used to put, on a personal note, I used to drink a lot of coffee in my 20s when studying, and I would probably have 10 cups of coffee a day, seriously. And I would put sugar in all of them. And just a teaspoon, but that's a lot of sugar. And I was addicted to it. It just kept me kind of going. I had high energy and from the wrong source. But so I decided to stop. I didn't want to stop drinking coffee, but I didn't want all that sugar. So I decided I'm drinking it black. So I went cold turkey. I said, I'm drinking coffee black. I see people doing it. I'm going to do it. And it was awful. It tasted awful. I'm thinking, why am I even drinking this? But I did it for a while, and I can't remember if it was a week or two, and I probably wasn't drinking 12 cups anymore because it tasted so bad. But then I said, forget it. I'm not even enjoying this. I'm putting the sugar back in. So I put the sugar back in, and guess what? All of a sudden, it tasted horrible. The sugar just, it totally disguised the taste of the coffee. All I tasted was sugar, and now I wasn't having coffee. I was having sugar water. So that fixed it. And then I went back to drinking black coffee, and then it was like, I'm fine. This tastes great. So what happened during that time period is my palate got adjusted. When you start eating healthy, at first it tastes horrible. But you got to just say, I'm going to commit to this for a while. And then if you give up and you go back and you say, oh, those French fries just taste like grease. How could it? But it's just because of what you're used to. So give yourself a chance. You kind of have to make a commitment and say, I'm just going to do this and stick with it for a while, and let your body, let your palate change. It will change for the better. It's healthy habits take a while to develop. Linda, go ahead.
There you go. Yeah, years ago I used to have a small container of candy that anybody in the office could have. So I would help myself during the day. And one of the guys I worked with was telling me about how addictive sugar was, and I thought he was kind of nuts. But I thought, well, okay, I'll try it. And I couldn't believe the withdrawal I went through. It was not fun. And I've tried to stay away from sugar since then.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been successful?
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of it now. I eat it once in a while, but if there's chocolate here, I'm in trouble then. But for the most part, I don't eat it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing because the sugar gives you that boost of energy, that high, and then there's that crash, right?
Yeah,
there's
it
that
does.
exhaustion that comes with it. So good for you. That's a great story. It does take the will, but remember, small steps is how we get there. So maybe for you with give that candy dish, so you'd have a candy every day. So maybe say, I'm going to have it every second day, right? It's not just cut off. I'm going to have it every second day. And then after a while, okay, I'm allowed once a week. It's a treat. You can do that. It's a small step. We can do that. Or I was just thinking, what came to mind is you want the candy and you say, okay, I'm going to put in some sugar-free gum. Some xylitol gum is good for your teeth. So maybe just say, because I have an urge to put something in to chew on. So just replace it. So those are good techniques as well. Sleep deprivation, just another note on that, the effects on the body are much like stress. So sleep deprivation can actually cause you to gain weight. It increases your cortisol levels. It distorts your thyroid hormone levels. It elevates the glucose and insulin that can be the risk for insulin resistance and diabetes. So lack of sleep can actually do that. So it's not like you just lost a night of sleep or you're not sleeping well. There's definitely a correlation to how it's affecting your body. And a sleep-deprived body is less efficient at metabolizing sugar. And it has elevated glucose levels. And tired people turn to food as an aid to stay awake. Therefore, sleep deprivation could be related to weight gain because you can't sleep. So what do you do? What do you do when you can't sleep? What do? You go to the fridge and usually to the TV. My guitar students, I tell them to pick up their guitar and practice, right? If you can't sleep at night. But you start to binge eat, right? So get to bed. And I say to my kids sometimes, they're up late and they say, I'm hungry again. I said, you're going to sleep. If you stay up longer, you're going to be ready for breakfast. You need to sleep. You need to fast. You need to stop eating. You don't need to put gas in your tank because you're not going anywhere. You're going to bed. Your body needs not to have food to digest. You need to let your body go into the healing process, right? Building up your immune system. You don't need to be digesting a big meal at 11 o'clock at night. So we'll recap do a little recap on that, perhaps if we have time. I want to switch gears because I'm all about let's replace the sugar. Let's find healthy snack foods. So if Daniel can did we put up my first slide? I don't think we did. I forgot to cue you on that. Let's do that.
No, the Mark Twain one?
Yes, please. So Mark Twain, too, understood this. The old man laughed loud and joyously, shook up the details of his anatomy from head to toe, and ended by saying that such a laugh was money in a man's pocket, because it cuts down the doctor's bill like everything. So that's from Tom Sawyer. So just another note on laughter. Laughter is really, they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, we can add in a laugh a day. Also helps keep the doctor away. Thank you, Daniel. If you could put up my slide now of my homemade brownies. Now, I apologize. I did not cut them today, and they look, I think, more, I should have cut them and put them on a platter, but this was fresh last night. And notice too, just a little side note, the Dollar Tree, or Dollarama actually, has these little trees. And they have lights in them, and they're so pretty on my counter. And they just add they're plastic, but they look so rich, especially in the evening when they're lit up. They just add a little bit of joy, a little bit of sparkle. So just a side note, I thought I'd include them in with my brownies. So this brownie recipe, super easy. So if you could switch to the next slide, and I have the ingredients. Now it says here, this was a vegan recipe that I found. So it says an egg replacer of flax eggs. Flax eggs are where you take flax seed and you mix it with water, and then it becomes a gel-like, and then you can use that instead of an egg. I did use eggs, and I use organic farm eggs that I get from a friend's farm. Her 86-year-old mother goes out every morning in the chicken coop and brings in fresh eggs. How fabulous is that? So I get the eggs from her. So I'm using chicken eggs. Now the brown sugar, I did not use brown sugar. I used the Swerve, and we'll see that in another picture, another slide, where it's a substitute for sugar. So it's got erythritol and xylitol, 2 sugar alternatives. And it takes a little adjustment to get used to the taste, because it doesn't taste like cane sugar, but you get used to it, and it's got health benefits for you, and definitely it takes the sugar out of your cooked baked goods. I melted coconut oil, and I put water and vanilla and cocoa powder or cacao powder. I used cacao powder and sea salt. So the next slide might be, and then baking soda. And then I used the Lily's chocolate chips that are sweetened with stevia. Thank you. Next slide. We simply mix it together, the eggs, the sugar substitute, the coconut oil. I put it in my little hand mixer, and then I added the rest of it. It's pretty simple. And then I just put it into a greased or oiled baking pan. And I did cook it for, it should say, I cooked it for 15 minutes, and it seemed like it was still very wet. And so I did another 10 minutes, which then kind of overcooked it. And so my kids were saying it was a little too dry, but it felt really wet. So somewhere in between, and it depends on the temperature, if your oven is really 325 or not. So you have to check that. You should be able to put, a toothpick in or a fork just to see that everything's cooked. And there's really no harm if it's a little bit undercooked. It's not like going to be bad for you. If you want, I did a little extra. It was a little bit too much. So as I said, it was a little bit dry. Do we have the picture of my ingredients in there? And I hope I sent them to you, Daniel. I may have missed it.
Unfortunately, no. Yeah.
I missed it. Okay. And if I sent it to you now, would you be able to post it in the next?
Absolutely.
Oh, well, welcome to the world of the new world.
If anyone was looking for that recipe or the instructions, I wrote in the chat that I can send you the a file just to your email if that would help. Or actually, I can put it back up on the screen. Just totally depends on what people need. But just feel free to write your email in the chat, and then I can send you today's session notes.
Okay, perfect. And I'm sending that to you right now, because I'd like you to put up the ingredients since we're talking about it.
Certainly, no problem.
Because it really gives a visual for us on how basic the ingredients are. A lot of times we don't want to do things because it's just we think we can't, or it's too complicated. It takes too much time. Maybe I don't have everything in my pantry. So when it comes up, we'll just walk through those ingredients once again because they're really basic. And this recipe called for sugar, but I know I'm not going to use the cane sugar, so I subbed out with the Swerve. And the Swerve comes in with a browned sugar version. So I use that one because the original recipe asked for that. You don't have to, but I chose to do that. So all my ingredients are whole foods. They all have the health benefits. I know in previous sessions, if you want to look back, I did address a lot of the ingredients that were found in the recipe today because there's health benefits to these. They're not just fillers. Everything, even from your sea salt, you're getting all your trace minerals from the healthy salt. You're getting the antioxidants from the cacao powder. And so everything there is giving you life. The coconut oil, so antimicrobial, and again, just so good for good fats for your body, things that give you health. And you don't feel guilty about eating this. This would be something that if you can't sleep at night, go have a brownie. And thank you for the comment on the excellent advice. I appreciate that.
Oh, what is neutral oil?
Neutral oil. What's neutral oil?
Is someone on the recipe, it said coconut oil or any other neutral oil.
So you just want an oil that's not like a vegetable oil or something like that. You want something that's got the healthy fats in it.
Okay.
So I like the coconut oil for it. I guess you could use avocado oil would be another option.
Now, and I apologize, Dyanne, I have not received the image of the ingredients yet. I'm just looking, it looks like I have some privately sent messages or questions. So if you've sent your emails over, it looks like I had Marie and Linda's. I've sent that out to you guys. And then it was Linda who was curious about the neutral oils as well. But
right.
But thank you for that.
Yeah, we'll talk more in other sessions about oils. I know I touched on it in previous sessions, but we can definitely address that as well. So it's funny because it says it's sent and sent again, but we'll move on from there.
Must be in the air.
The whole point is, pardon me?
It must be in the air.
It's in the air. It's in the cloud. Okay. I do have a few more things I wanted to touch on in terms of stress relief. And one of them is aromatherapy. So one thing you can also do just to really help de-stress is aromatherapy was coined to combine aroma and therapy. So it indicates that there's therapeutic benefits to using the fragrance from the essential oils. And the main categories on how we use essential oils is inhalation, topical, and internal. But I want to talk about the inhalation portion because it's the oldest form of using essential oils. So oils that are diffused are a great safe way because you're using a lower concentration. So here I have a great oil, and this is lavender oil. And you want to make sure that you get one that is a real essential oil, not fragrances that have synthetic things to resemble oils. You want to make sure that it is the real deal. And usually the real ones come in dark bottles. That's just a cue for you. Do your research. And usually they're a little expensive. They're not $2 or $3. They can be anywhere from, $10 to $20 to $30, $40. Depends on the oil. So what do we do is I have a lovely diffuser, and it looks like this, and I plug it in, it opens up, and I just fill it with water, and I add a few drops, 2 or 3, or as much as 6 to 10, depends, and I just plug it in, and it diffuses the oil, the essential oil, into the air. And by inhaling that, definitely affects your stress level. there's different oils do different things. So I'm not doing a presentation on essential oils today, and I'm really not that experienced in essential oils, but I've know enough to have used a few. I use lavender for relaxation. I use orange for mental clarity. So you can diffuse different oils for different things. You can do things to give you energy or to put you to sleep. So the lavender helps to relax. You can also take the oil and put it directly upon the little, you must have seen these nice little bracelets. There's 3 beads on here that are quite porous, and I can put a drop of essential oil on these. I can wear this, and I'm carrying that fragrance of the essential oil with me. So these are great ideas for Christmas because Santa's coming. These all fit in stockings. The diffuser doesn't. That would be a nice big gift. But these are things that are health benefits, right? Because you're taking care of yourself. You're finding ways to relax. So essential oils, as I said, they can energize. They can help promote memory and focus. Some have antimicrobial effects, and some are great for relaxing, which is my lavender. So definitely check it out. There's also, I found sprays. This is an organic lemon eucalyptus summer spray. It is essential oil. You really want to check that it has the essential oils in it. You can spray this in your room. You can spray it on your linens. You know, wonderful little things if you like to have nice scents around you. What you don't want to be doing is buying this synthetic fragrances that are out there, you know, the ones that you plug into the wall to mask smells. Those are very toxic. There's a lot of harmful chemicals in those. So really be careful that you're using essential oils in any kind of fragrance that you're using in your home. And you can clean with the essential oils too. So you can put it in your bath water. There's so many things to do. And so do some research on that respect. And I want to give you so Daniel, I'm just checking in with you. So nothing came through for
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, funny.
What was the name of the product? Because I can put some up.
It's not a product. It was just the picture of the ingredients that I used for the brownie. So you had a visual, right? So you had the sea salt that I use, and you had my cacao powder, you had my coconut oil, a package of my almond flour, and we had the Lily's chips because I added the stevia sweetened chips into the stirred it in and for the brownies. And what else was in the recipe? Baking soda.
I was going to say if it was something specific,
and vanilla.
I could search it, but yeah.
Yeah, and vanilla. So those are all very common things that we have in our home. So I want to just end with my pick of the day, or it's actually going to be the supplement of the day. Really important for this time of year with COVID. And there's been studies showing linking low vitamin D to be more susceptible to severe effects of COVID. So you'll find lots of that on the internet. And that's vitamin D. Vitamin D is so important. And we do get some from the sun, but definitely not enough. You need to supplement with vitamin D. This one here has K2 with it. And vitamin D and K2 work together as a team. It's a synergistic interplay, which means that the vitamin D helps to get the calcium into the body, but the K2 sends it to the bones. Okay, so that's why the K2 factor is important. If you just take vitamin D, that's okay as well. But recently I've seen research of how the K2 for the calcium aspect of it, you want that K2 as the deliverer of the D into your bones. So both nutrients are essential and beneficial to bone and cardiovascular health. How much D do we take? So the recommended dose is about 1,000 micrograms or 25 micrograms, which is 1,000. Usually they come in 1,000 drops. You can take that or up to 4,000. So don't be afraid of taking too much. you can start off with a drop that says it's 1,000, or you can go up. Some people do 10 drops, which would be 10,000 units into your body each day. Vitamin D deficiency is really prevalent. And unfortunately, when you go to the doctor to get your lab work done, your blood work done, they don't always include the test of vitamin D. And I don't know why that is, because it's so important in disease prevention. I once worked with a functional medicine doctor, and he showed me a chart, and he showed that where you need to be with your vitamin D just to prevent all these autoimmune diseases and different things, that you had to have a higher level of D in your body. And some people are walking around with, they're so deficient in vitamin D that they're at more of a risk for things, such as, diseases and even viral infections and, flu season. We really want to boost our immune system, so we want to get the vitamin D into us. So the point of all of this, I'm just reading some of my technical stuff here. The one key point here is the measurement of vitamin D in your body is the 25 hydroxy vitamin D blood test. So that's the test that you would basically just ask your doctor, can you test my vitamin D level? And you usually have to pay for it now, and it's about $30, but it's really worth it, because if you are low in range, your doctor will let you know, and you need to definitely boost up. And if you need to know, where am I in this? And if you've never had it done, really important. And you'll find that if you're not supplementing, so at one point in time, I was quite high in vitamin D, like I was a healthy level, like on the higher end, which didn't scare me, because you really cannot become toxic with too much D. But I was supplementing, so I pulled back, thinking, okay, well, I've got quite a bit in, I can pull back now. Then I had to test it again, and I was low. So it just shows you that you really need to supplement. The sunshine isn't enough. So if there's one supplement that you need to think of during these months and to protect yourself, is start looking into this, and start by getting that hydroxy vitamin D blood test done from your health provider. Okay, and they'll let you know if you're low, and if you're low, start. And even if just in the interim, if you're not going right away, you can start supplementing with it. You're not gonna do any harm by starting to add the vitamin D drops. You can take vitamin D capsules as well, but I find the liquid, it gets absorbed into your bloodstream a lot better. So make sure you're buying a good quality one. I do recommend that you go to more of a health food store to buy your supplements rather than off the shelf in a drugstore, because a lot of times the ones that are not as good quality, you could say, have a lot of fillers in them, and you're just not getting the effectiveness of the vitamin D, in this case, the supplement. So you want to make sure that you are sourcing out a good, reputable company. And, a lot of the people, I mentioned this last week, that work in the health food industry actually are naturopathic doctors or are studying nutrition. They really know a lot about health, and they know a lot about the supplements themselves and which ones are better quality than others. So definitely use their resources, use their knowledge, ask questions, and do your research, because we want to keep a healthy immune system. We need to sleep, we need to rest, we need to eat well, we need to keep our bodies more alkaline, so get in the greens, and at the end of the day, we need to laugh. Okay, so I've given you so much information today. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully you've made some notes. You can, the wonderful thing with these virtual programming is you can go back and review the previously recorded sessions, because there's so much information coming out that it really helps hearing it a second and third time, because there's going to be things that you missed. Okay, so we need good night's sleep. Oh, which brings me to, don't forget about your magnesium. We talked about this in a previous session as well. Another great sleep aid to keep you away from opening the fridge and eating the wrong things, unless, of course, it's my healthy brownies for the week. All right, that is it, Daniel. I am past 11 o'clock.
Oh, that's
You got to
okay.
cut me off.
No, that's okay. So yeah, we are at 11:01. So if anyone has any questions they want to ask Dyanne before we let her go, please feel free to unmute your microphone at this time. Otherwise, we'll see you guys all next Monday, or hopefully later on in the week, so you can join us for other sessions. Just gonna give a moment. Not seeing any microphones coming off, seeing hands waving. So
Thank
we'll
you,
let
everyone.
everyone
Thanks for
go.
listening.
Bye, everyone. Have a very wonderful week. Bye now. Thank you again, Dyanne.
You're welcome. Thank you.